Miami-Dade County is home to... welcome to Braille High. The celebration of spring in many cultures is one of rebirth and often debauchery. The Greeks and Romans held spring festivals venerating Dionysus and Bacchus, their respective gods of wine. But the modern American collegiate celebration of spring dates to the 1930s. In 1934, Colgate University swimming coach Sam Ingram took his team to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to train over Christmas break in one of the United States' largest swimming pools. The following year, Fort Lauderdale hosted the first annual College Coaches Swim Forum, bringing hundreds of young athletes to southern Florida in the early months of the year. Those hundreds would swell to thousands during the Second World War, as Bermuda, the more traditional tropical vacation spot for young undergraduates, became threatened by German submarine activity. This would make Florida an increasingly popular vacation spot in the next decades. In 1954, an estimated 20,000 migrated to Florida in the spring season, resulting in 11 arrests and 2 deaths. In 1960, Where the Boys Are, starring George Hamilton and Connie Francis, spread the legend of South Florida to teenagers across the country, a legend that would continue growing over the next several decades. The legend would grow by word of mouth and by generous advertising. MTV first aired a spring break special in 1986 and would continue to do so well into the 21st century. Fort Lauderdale would be overtaken by Daytona as Florida's spring break capital, and Daytona would fall to Panama City Beach. Similar bacchanalian rights would be advertised in Miami, Tampa, and outside of Florida, Palm Springs, California, the Bahamas, Jamaica, Cancun, and Acapulco. Each year, roughly 1.5 million American college students make the Dionysian pilgrimage, collectively sinking nearly $1 billion into the economy and collectively pouring 8 million liters of alcoholic beverages into their bodies. Pretty sure that's a low estimate. And then... Harmony Korine came along. Oh, how I missed him. Not every day you have to motion track a nipple. Unless you are me. This is the life I have chosen. Although, to be fair, this is the most appropriate use of Skrillex I've ever seen. Spring Breakers is about 4 young college students who have names, but not individual personalities. The 4 of them, whom I shall call the Christian, the one who gets shot, and the other 2, yearn to get away from the nameless college they attend, and declare to each other that they want panis.
Shot at. You see your friends killed.
That is the most clearly inscribed O I have ever seen. They rob a restaurant and use the money to go on spring break, where they find spiritual fulfillment and a sense of social inclusiveness and butts! After smoking of substances and wiggling of breasts, they're arrested because actions have consequences, something which they do not care for.
I don't understand. They're just having fun. We didn't do anything wrong.
Actions have consequences? Well, fuck, we robbed a restaurant and no one cared. Gah! A rapper with a name that's spelled alien but pronounced Aileen because stupid, bails them out and takes them under his Axe body sprayed wing. This is, of course, James Franco.
James is a rebel. He has his own philosophy on this. 1 for them, 5 for nobody.
Well, I'm nobody. They dress like Pussy Riot, if Pussy Riot had one brain cell to share among them, and they fill their time with butts. They run into Gucci Mane, who is apparently a person who does things of some sort, and he starts a gang war against James Franco. The Christian leaves, the one who gets shot, and then leaves. Both sides have pre-battle threesomes. Aileen gets shot by the bad guy, and the remaining 2 shoot an endless horde of nameless mooks. They say goodbye to Florida, and the film ends on a shot of their butts. There's a motif here. Basically, it's not all that dissimilar from Trash Humpers. 4 despicable people don masks and go on a carefree, murderously bacchanalian rampage.
We robbed the chicken shack. Shut up. Squirt guns. Are you serious? Squirt guns.
So they robbed a place with fake guns. Wait, so they faked it and then they made it? That's not how that works. Spring Breakers made a lot of headlines last year, making it one of Harmony Korine's few genuine commercial and popular successes, though I'm guessing that had more to do with its cast of 3 former Disney employees, and the director's wife. And so naturally, the press jumped all over the fact that 3 young women who were previously girls were now under the assumption that they could start acting like young women. Particularly stupid, sociopathic young women, but still.
I don't want to talk all that much about the cast members of That's So Wizard's Sweet Life of Pretty Musical Liars and Ferb. I don't watch the Disney Channel, you see.
Mostly because there's not much to say. I think we should just accept this as a time-honored tradition. The walkabout for the former child star. They go out into the desert, do some really embarrassing stuff, and return as adults. From Macaulay Culkin getting a guy to drink his urine, to Miley Cyrus doing everything she's done in the past year and a half, this is just how young stars overcompensate. I need to be respected as an adult, so they let you know that they are adults now.
Seeing all this money makes my pussy wet.
This is what adult people say.
Intriguingly enough, Spring Breakers looks like a Disney Channel production.
Kinda, sorta. Okay, what I mean is, bright neons, carefree attitudes, and the air of the young and immortal. It's a Disney teenage comedy, but scripted by the guy who wrote Ken Park's Cavalcade of Cretins, and shot by the cinematographer behind the 10-minute rape scene in Irreversible.
Spring Break!
And if it feels about as listless and plotless and hazy as an actual Spring Break,
It's mostly because of Harmony Korine's, business casual approach to shooting things.
hey guys, let's dress up like celebrities, go to an island and fart around. Done. Hey guys, let's dress up like old people, go to a back alley and fart around. Done. Hey guys, let's dress up like Russian anarchists, go to Florida and fart around. Done. So there are a lot of scenes just floating in the breeze, unconnected to any other scene, usually sandwiched in between some random shot of mammary glands being covered in sweat and low-proof alcohol.
This is, in Korine's words, meant to evoke a pop song.
My loneliness is killing me, and I...
The classics. But rather than evoking the musical structures of an artist like Britney Bitch Spears, it reminds me more of a Nicholas Roeg movie. Check out this clip from Performance, a pioneer in non-continuity editing. Main story, flash forward, flash back, flash forward again, intercutting, generally jumping back and forth to create, well, more of a psychedelic sense than a scene. Same thing here. And it results in a movie that feels like you're hungover and just trying to remember the movie that you saw last night.
There was, like, a dude. He was with these indistinguishable girls in bikinis. And he talked like Honey Boo Boo's mom.
Bunch of tough fucking criminals up in here.
And later we gon' eat some sketty with roadkill.
Alright, to be fair, James Franco is easily the best thing about this movie.
Partially because he's playing the only actual character. An actual one-note character. There's that one note. Based on a real-life rapper named Riff Raff. Or rather, they told Riff Raff he was gonna get a role and then decided not to use him, so he sued for image rights, but superfluous. Anyway, Aileen is a gangsta.
Gangsta.
And everything that implies. Love of weapons, lust for flesh, lack of taste.
Scarface on repeat.
Best movie.
Scarface on repeat. Constant, y'all.
He really does just hold the movie together. He is Florida personified.
Keys and big booties, y'all, that's what life is about!
All hail Butts!
Also, anyone else remember Kevin Federline? Just, popped into my mind for some reason.
I know there's some non-Americans watching, so for context, you should probably know that Florida is just one of those places that's okay to hate. According to American stereotypes, everything outside of Disney World is a stew of rednecks, racists, racist rednecks, crazed ignoramus, crass pornographers, charming serial killers, and, of course, insipid, semi-nude drunks.
The only people there who are happy are the retirees, and only because they know they're going to die soon and leave Florida forever. Every year, the president makes a call, and it goes a little something like this. Hi, Spain? Yeah, it's America. I know you haven't been a colonial power for a couple centuries now, but, you want Florida back? Alright, I'll stop dumping on Florida. Mostly because it doesn't seem like Kareem does it. If anything, he treats Florida like Shangri-La. He seems to sympathize with his vapid protagonists. He takes joy in their rapture.
Hi, Grandma. I'm having so much fun here. This place is special. I'm starting to think this is the most spiritual place I've ever been.
It is bliss. It is ecstasy. It is freedom. The freedom to consume, the freedom to abandon, the freedom to love. Love? Love? Nah, love. The freedom to do any dumb thing you could ever want to. This film is the beatification of the Floridian Mecca. Scarface hu Akbar, Scarface hu Akbar. Hare Skrillex, Hare Skrillex, Skrillex Skrillex, Hare Hare. In nomine Brittany et Gucci et Tequila Campari. Amen.
Spring break. Spring break. Spring break forever. Notice me. Take my hand.
Not gonna lie. This scene is kind of the best thing ever. In fact, I like it so much, I'm just gonna leave the scene playing while I talk about other stuff. It's just comedy gold this, comedy gold this. Still, can't make a movie out of one good scene. Korean was never big on plot, and here the plot fizzles out a little too quickly. Like, the four women use the money they get from robbing a restaurant to go to Florida. Fine. But no consequences for that. There's a party involving cocaine, and they all go to jail for it, and then last we hear of that. Alien bails them out. He's set up to be the antagonist initially, but turns out not to be, potentially. And then two of the protagonists leave. That really bugs me. Half the group is gone before the final act. The director's wife and that kid who showed up in the Muppets for 2 seconds just bail when it gets too dangerous. So there's a way out. Any of them could leave at any time. So, firstly, it feels like a betrayal to break up the group so soon. We're simply supposed to accept the fragility of this group, shun those who left the group? I mean, are they not all in this together?
We're all in this together, and it shows when we stand.
There. I made one Disney Channel reference. The quota has been filled. And secondly, it feels too safe. Allow an easy exit for any of the characters and it becomes too easy. The story presents them with a problem, just get up and leave, morons! It's toothless. Having two people wisely go out of danger feels unnecessary, and oddly safe for such a brazen film. It's too coddling for a director with the guts to show a nipple and a bullet wound in the same shot. And the ending, only half leads remain, but the ending is its own problem. I'm not talking about this Marvel supervillain Disney princess three-way. I'm talking about this stuff. All of this. Does Harmony Korine, think? I mean, I'm not necessarily suggesting there's anything wrong with the finale, in which a couple of white kids wear masks and shoot down a whole horde of black people with handguns in Florida in 2012 in a movie shoot that started less than a month after Trayvon Martin was shot? Did no one think? I mean, I'm not just being the boy who cried racism, right?
I'm allowed to point out how none of the black characters are humanized. Nearly all the college students seem to be white, save for this nameless person. Black culture is depicted as thuggish and sleazy, while the only drug dealers they meet and trust are white, and the conflict at the end is resolved by donning masks and massacring nameless black thugs. We're supposed to hate these protagonists, right? I really, really hope so. And to say nothing of the racial politics, the sexual politics? But there were some feminist critics reading the film as a female empowerment fantasy, in that it focused on the fulfillment of its female protagonists, and to be fair, the 4 lead actresses do fine with the thinly drawn material they have to work with, but many other feminist critics, and this includes me, noticed just how much the camera focused on our breakers' bodies. I'm gonna quote NPR's David Edelstein. The camera glides up, down, and around these women's bodies like a giant tongue. It's textbook male gaze. I am now more familiar with Rachel Corrines' torso than I am with my own mother's face. And again, they are not characters. They are interchangeable Barbie dolls. Only one of the 4 is actually given the semblance of a character, that being Selena Gomez, as, according to IMDb, her character's name is Faith. She's a Christian and her name is Faith. The most fully realized character is James Franco, who ends up describing the Spring Breakers characters for us.
They're like old-fashioned bitches, straight out of bud.
Like Lolita, or 120 Days of Sodom, or that novel Snooki wrote. It's a male cretin's idea of what feminism should be. Give your bikini babes a gun, and you can shoot their asses from any angle that pleases you. Bang bang, sexism is over. But it's oddly appropriate. If you're doing a Spring Break movie, you'll almost inevitably draw from the culture around it, including Girls Gone Wild, including Florida's considerable porn empire, including the misogynistic frat boy athletic culture that founded Spring Break in the 1930s. And really, that's all Karina's done. Just draw from the culture around it. MTV and porn and Scarface on repeat. Spring Breakers is an STD bred in the petri dish of American pop culture, and it infects everyone and everything that touches... Oh, God damn it, I like this song! Ugh. He could be appropriating that culture to critique it, or to do it ironically, but I don't see critique here. I don't see irony. What I do see is... Honestly, what this reminds me the most of? Bear with me on this. Roy Lichtenstein. Roy Lichtenstein was one of America's most prominent pop artists. Like Warhol, Lichtenstein's best-known work reappropriated the detritus of American pop culture and reframed it as capital A art. His best-known works, including Forget It, Forget Me, and Wham!, were paintings of comic strips, projected onto a large canvas and replicated down to small details, like the halftone dots used in cheap color printing processes. This was done to mixed effect. A 1964 article of Life magazine once asked, "Is he the worst artist in America?" This appropriation of ubiquitous pop culture didn't necessarily elevate the source material. Mouse creator Art Spiegelman once commented that Lichtenstein did no more or less for comics than Andy Warhol did for soup. And he stole from the greats. This one's based on Joe Kubert, this one on a Gil Kane, this one taken from no less than John Romita Sr. But I'm not talking about appropriation. I'm talking about framing. Spring Breakers takes similarly commonplace art forms and frames them in a surrealist story of self-fulfillment. Putting a new frame on someone else's style doesn't necessarily reveal the inherent artistry in it. I think that's all Karina's done. Taken the tropes and techniques of the idea Spring Break and reframed it, bringing in the neon colors and hedonistic philosophies and heinous misogyny that accompanies it. And there's artistry! In all of it! There is artistry in the blazingly visceral cinema of Brian De Palma, and the glossily erotic photography of Dave LaChapelle, and the frighteningly daring music of Skrillex, and even in the unsung songwriters who churned out the ditties of Britney Spears. But Kareem's appropriation isn't detached irony, it is a self-satisfied fantasy. His arrangements of the pop items here aren't critique or parody, they are indulgence. Harmony Korine wanted a Spring Break fantasy, and so he made a Spring Break fantasy. Harmony Korine never explains himself. He doesn't need to. He simply is himself. He is his own desires. Harmony Korine is driven by his own id. And if his id doesn't care about the sexist, racist, irresponsible things he portrays, it's all good. He just does things.
Break, bitches!
Oh, the barnyard is busy in a regular tizzy, and the obvious reason is because of the season. Ma Nature's lyrical with her yearly miracle. Spring, spring, spring. All the hen folk are hatching while their men folk are scratching to ensure the